Thank you very much. Uh, uh, that was at some point I felt like saying preach in the middle of the because yeah, you got me going, but it was very good, and these are some of the issues that we think about. Um, it's really good to be here. I hope that for the next 15 minutes or so, I can share a little bit about sort of around the business opportunity, not necessarily with the Internet of Things or Internet of Everything. My topic is online portals. What's all the fuss about? I'm just trying to get a timer here. Can you put up my slides? Okay, thank you. Okay, so just to say, just a little bit about my experience. So my topic is online portals. What's all the fuss about? I think like over the last few years, you started to hear a lot about like, oh, just out of the blues, like, Jumia, Konga, like they're everywhere, Wakanao, um, Nige, Gigi, Jobberman, and so on. Okay, fantastic. I was wondering about that. And the like. And so, the organizers have seen that I've been involved with some of this. So the organizers felt maybe I should come and share a little bit about what's all this? What's all this that's been going on? That's a little bit of my history, which I'm not going to go into. I started, what I would consider one of the first online internet portals in 2001 when I started my first company. It was a mobile internet portal called MLife, when we enabled mobile internet on the MTN network for the first time, right after they launched. Subsequently, I was involved in a lot of things. She shared a little bit about how we grew that company out into seven other African countries. And I share this to connect a little bit about the economic opportunity, and not just economic, but also the sort of transformational opportunity in terms of people's characters and people's capacity and capabilities that is coming with the internet, that comes with online portals. When I started that company, I was 22 years old. And of course, MTN is one of the biggest companies in Nigeria. Even then, they were new, but even then, they were a big deal. But because we were pitching to them something that, even though we were 22, we were not disadvantaged because we did not need a factory. We were able to show them and demonstrate that this is the thing that we can do it. And they said, okay, if we can do it, show us. We rev shared with them, and they gave us the opportunity. In the team that I had in that first company, the first team, I went to school in America, but everybody else went to school in Nigeria. Out of the first 10 people, 6 of those first 10 people run their own companies now, are CEOs, founders of their own companies now, and each of them make at least 100 million naira a year revenues. And all of them were very young right out of school as well at the time. And so I've been part from 15 years ago, 16 years ago, of sort of the whole idea of like using tech, young people using tech and using portals to sort of create opportunities for themselves and create a value for Nigeria and for Nigerians. I think this is very relevant, especially now, sort of with what's going on with the economy and so on. More recently, I've been involved with Jobberman, the jobs website. We provide the seed investment and incubation for that business, which is a portal. Cheki, which is a cars portal, and so on. Let me just skip on because it's not really supposed to be available to me. So what are portals? I'll use portal and platform interchangeably, right? Because I think that, anyway, so a portal traditionally or by definition is basically, so before internet came, the word portal was used to describe a gate, a very big gate that people enter through. And then when internet came, the word portal, the use of the word sort of changed. And the first portal that we knew in the 90s, the first very big portal was like Yahoo. So it's like when you're trying to go to the internet, it's like the way that you go to enter into the internet. So it was the gate to the internet for most of us. The idea is that you want to do something, but you would otherwise be lost, and then you go to this particular place, and by going to that particular place, then you're able to achieve what you're trying to achieve. So Yahoo was a portal for most of us here for getting on the internet. More recently, there have been a lot of other portals. I'll share about some of them. So a portal generally has three properties. It aggregates a lot of, so there's a lot of quantity and variation of a particular thing. Whether that's, so I use Jumia as an example of a portal. It's an e-commerce platform, it's an e-commerce website, but it's a portal in a sense, because when you want to shop, Jumia aggregates a lot of people that sell things. So if you go there, there is the idea that you don't have to go to so many places, you can just go to Jumia. That's what they're trying to achieve. Google, for information I shared, Not Just Okay. Many of you know Not Just Okay or MTN Music Plus is for music. So if you're trying to find music, you go there, then you can find all the music. So a portal should aggregate content or aggregate whatever it is that the portal is focused on. It should guide people and help the people get to what they're looking for. But underlying all of that, it should just help you get stuff done. Now, the big deal about portals and platforms is really, a big part of it has to do with the amount of value that has been created. Please leave this slide up. So if you see, all these businesses here, none of them is more than 30 years old, I don't think. And this is, as of today, the market cap, the value of many of these businesses. Yahoo, which has gone up and is coming down, and people think of Yahoo as a dead business, but they're worth $34 billion. Google, that's Alphabet, is worth $505 billion. Alibaba is $178 billion, and so on, you can see it. Bringing it closer to home, Jumia, which is less than 5 years old, is worth $1 billion. And One Africa Media, which I'm involved in, is a business that is also less than 5 years old. It's a Pan-African business that basically aggregates Jobberman, Cheki, and some of the other businesses that we've been involved with. Did a raise last year at $120 million valuation. This is real money, real cash into the business. Now, so the market values these businesses, values portals and platforms differently from other business models. When you look at the value of an e-commerce business, you say, okay, revenue times 3, generally, right? When you look at a portal or a platform, a business like Uber has never been profitable and is valued at $60 billion. And part of the reason why, markets have these platforms are valued that way is partly to do with the resilience of the business model. Meaning, people like to invest in businesses that survive. That, when you invest money, the value is retained for a very long time. If you look at the Fortune 500 companies, or companies that people celebrate over the last 100 years, maybe every 20 years, those businesses change. Businesses die, businesses come back, businesses die, businesses come back. But when something is established as a platform, in the offline world, what you can think of a platform is like a market. Like, for example, in Lagos, there was a market called Tejosho that got burnt down, and it was closed for years. Years later, 10 years later, when they wanted to rebuild it, they just said, we're rebuilding Tejosho, and people rushed to invest money in buying shops in Tejosho. Because when something is established in people's heads that this is the place to go for something, then the value is intrinsic. It's like Alaba. When people, I don't know what the big market is here in Abuja, but when people understand, even stock markets, like the New York Stock Exchange, the private company, it has lasted for more than 100 years, more than the most valuable companies listed on the exchange. And that's because, again, when two sets of people, both the information that has been organized or the providers of a service that are on one side, and the consumers of that service on the other side, over time, it is established that this is the place to go, that if I go to this place, I'll be able to achieve what I'm trying to achieve. If you're a seller of a service, you know that if I go to this portal, I'll be able to sell my stuff. Then it's very difficult to move it. If some of you think through, maybe some of the markets in your, even in Ebola, we name our days by market. You think about, the market that existed when you were little or when your village was small, your village has transformed, everything has changed, but the market is still there. And so people, so in tech, people sort of understand this and have placed a lot of value on it. And so that's why the rush over the last 6 years, even though Nigeria may not have been doing so well, even this year, the economy is not that good, but dollar is this, dollar is that. But millions of dollars are still being invested in Nigeria in online portals. And that's, I've shared some of the reasons why. In terms of how do these businesses make money, there are generally four ways, or some mix of the four ways. One way is advertising. So the portal, so like Google, Yahoo, is like advertising, primarily advertising funded businesses. By aggregating enough of users, by having enough people coming to them, then they are able to charge people who want to talk to those, who want to communicate to those eyeballs, a fee for communicating with those eyeballs. So that's advertising funded model. And then you have another option is like a subscription funded model where, so in the first instance, you're not, in the purely advertising funded model, you're not charging the people who are coming to access the portal. You're only charging the people who want to be able to send a message to them. In a subscription funded model, then you're only charging, generally speaking, you're only charging the people who are coming to the portal. So, for example, MTN Music Plus, they charge a subscription. You go there, you pay monthly or weekly or whatever, and then you have access to all the music. You can go whenever you want to search for music. So that's another business model. With Jobberman, I know sometime, not now, but sometime in the past, they had introduced, they had tested out a job seeker paying for access to the site. But the interesting thing, but they don't do that anymore. Now it's free for people to access the site. But the interesting thing is that Jobberman is an interesting example of a subscription model because the majority of the eyeballs that come there are job seekers. So they have maybe 1 million or 2 million people come there every month as job seekers. But they charge the other side a subscription. That is the employers. So the employers pay a monthly fee for being able to access the database of job seekers in terms of when they want to be able to go and search and reach out to maybe people who don't apply for their jobs, so passive job seekers. Another way is lead generation, which is when you basically, so Check is the car's website, you basically charge people for access to contact details of people that might be interested in what you're trying to sell. And then the fourth is a commission on transactions. So Uber has just moved, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Uber, the taxi service, where from an app you can like get a taxi. I came in from the airport now and I opened my phone and called an Uber and the Uber picked me and brought me here. So I didn't have to talk to the driver and I put where I'm going and he just brought me here. So Uber is an example of a commission on transactions business model for a portal or a platform. Jumia also tries to take a commission from all the transactions that go on the portal. So sometimes you have a combination of business models. If you are able to build a very successful portal, then you can combine some of these models together. But all this sounds good and nice and dandy. This is a picture of the 3 Jobberman guys in the early days. You see how they are not smiling at all because the work is very tough. Like the idea that these businesses can in 5 years or 10 years become worth billions, that's great, that's fantastic, that's why there's a lot of money that goes into it. But the reality is that most times you will not be successful. And the reason why is because a portal or a platform, unlike if you're selling rice, if you're selling food, when every day you cook 500 naira worth of food and you sell it for 800 naira, on the first day you start your business. So you make 300 naira profit on day 1. On day 2, you take that 800 naira and you now make 2 plates. So your business can grow profitably from the first day, right? Your business is delivering value to the customer from the first day. And therefore you can charge the customer. If you're a doctor or you're a driver or you're a tailor, even with one customer, you're delivering value and you can monetize that value immediately. And you can also know whether you're a bad tailor by the time you have only 2 customers and the next week or the next month, the 2 of them don't come back. You already know this is a bad business. Let me try and go from being a tailor to become a photographer or something else, right? So that's the nature of traditional businesses. And so you can quickly know if you're doing well and you can quickly grow and scale. But with these portals, right? Portals is like a grave where billions of dollars of investment goes to die, right? And part of the reason is because you cannot monetize because you're not creating any value at the beginning. If you're supposed to be the place that everybody goes to find jobs, a portal for jobs like Jobberman, right? When you only have 10 jobs and you're trying to get hundreds or 200s of people to come, on day one, you're not very valuable. First of all, you have to even invest money to go and collect 10 or 20 or 100 or 1,000 jobs, right? And when you've collected 1,000 jobs, the chances that each individual that comes into your portal will find the job that they want that is of any value to them, the chance is very low. It's like, permutation and combination of the odds of, the probability of, 1 in 1 million crossing with 1 in 1,000. It is very unlikely. So you can't monetize. You have to get more money and go and get more jobs and get more jobs and get more jobs. Now, with jobs, it's even easier. It's even a little bit easier because it's like you're collecting information and you're putting it up. So when it's information, a purely information portal, then it's even easier. But when it's a service portal, not a service portal, but when it's a transactional portal, so something like Jumia, for example, where you have to go and aggregate thousands of buyers, right? And thousands of sellers. So you're going to the merchants, to the sellers, and say, Mr. Merchant, bring your goods to my portal because I have customers for you. So you have to hire a whole bunch of people to go out and aggregate sellers, right? And when one seller comes and stays there for a month, at the same time that you are building that, you have to also go and be building a business that says, Mr. Buyer, come to this side. So you have to invest a lot of money, a lot of effort in building these both sides of this market. And then you have to sort of focus on the liquidity of transactions. You have to be able to see that transactions are actually happening. Actually, this is how markets got formed traditionally. That, like the idea that this place is a market and this is not a market. The idea that Alaba in Lagos is the place to go for electronics. It's not as if the federal government said or Lagos state government said Alaba is the place for electronics. It came from, but then it takes many, many years, tens of years. It came from repeatedly people going with the expectation of buying electronics at the best value and being able to know all the electronics that are available in the market, being able to know the newest thing. Basically, if I go to Alaba, I will not miss out on good value or on selection. So it came from that happening repeatedly from the buyer side and then also from the sellers, from the importers and the traders, from them bringing in their container of electronics and sending some to Alaba, sending some to another place, sending some to another place, and it's the Alaba ones that go faster. Then they decide, okay, I have to continue to patronize. So that happened over many, many years in Alaba, for example. In things like stock exchange, that happened by government fiat or by regulatory fiat. The regulator says this is the place that you go to buy and sell shares. Then it happens. But in the online world, you're trying using dollars or naira, marketing money and salespeople and technology to create the liquidity of transactions over time. And most people cannot get there. One of the most frustrating things as an investor, investing in online portals, one of the most frustrating things for me has been the fact that a business, an online portal being built that has not yet reached where it needs to reach, right? The numbers, the metrics looks the same, at least the financials, looks the same when they are making a mess of it as when they are doing it successfully. So you can't, because their P&L every year is like, you invested $5 million and you lost $5 million. Year 2, invested $10 million and you lost $10 million. Year three, $20 million, and you lost $20 million. Like Amazon, which is one of the top 3 most valuable marketplaces, was losing money for about 10 years. So when a company like Jumia, I'm not sure if you guys know, but like Jumia, has lost more money probably than all the companies that we work for here put together have spent or made in this year. They've lost more money than some governments have spent, some ministries have spent in their budget this year. So when you look at that, when the investors in Jumia look at it, they can't say, this is terrible, I'm going to stop investing, because when they go and check, that's exactly how Amazon looked at that stage. So it's very risky. It's a very dangerous business to invest in. Let me get my slides. Can I have the? So I've shared some of this. And the other thing that's a little bit challenging about these portals is that not only do you have to create the, please try and leave it on just on my slides, please. Don't be switching it out if you can. I'm almost done. So not only do you have to make people know that they will receive, that they will complete what they're trying to do each time repeatedly, but in order to be able to capture value, you also have to create the impression that you can also do it exclusively, meaning that it is only you. That Alaba has to be the only place that people are sure they can sell the electronics, and then the rent can go up. Jobberman has to be the only place that an employer knows that when they put their jobs, they will get the right people, or a job seeker knows that when they go and apply, they will get a job. If that was the case, then Jobberman can charge more. But if there are 3 places, right? Like one of our businesses, Checky, the cars website. We've been working on this thing for years. We basically have half of the cars that are for sale in Nigeria. More than half are on the site. We're seeing the car dealers are selling cars. We know they are selling cars. Last year we had more than 120,000 cars go through the site. When we were about to start charging them, we charge them very small, 10,000 naira a month. That's a tiny fraction of what they make. If I went to them personally and said, give me a commission and I'll help you sell a car, they will give me 5% commission. That's already what they used to do. But when we're about to start charging them, OLX came and launched in Nigeria. And so when you tell them that you remove their car, they don't care because they can sell it on OLX. So it's a business that has even more the fact that you have to be almost exclusive provider of value makes it an even more difficult business. So, this is an old movie. I don't know how many of you know it. It's Mel Gibson, Braveheart. The guy is a Scottish guy and felt that he will fight the whole of the British Empire, British Kingdom. So, and that's just to illustrate that it takes a brave person to want to do an online portal in spite of some of the challenges that I've shared. And so if you are a Braveheart, then these are some ideas that I've been thinking about that are portals that are sort of can be locally relevant that don't exist now. And I sort of put like a blank phone to say, okay, you have a blank screen, a blank canvas to paint your own portal on it. So, one idea is like so there's a lot of transactions. Federal government has in the last 1 or 2 months said a couple of times, go and buy your dollars from the secondary market. Go and buy your dollars from the secondary market. So there's some kind of idea now that there is what we used to call black market is no more black. In fact, maybe it's not even gray. It's now parallel or secondary. So now the question is like, there are a lot of people that want to buy dollars and sell dollars. There are a lot of people that want to buy dollars, there are a lot of people that want to sell dollars. There is no organization of that, no aggregation. There's no one place. Offline, there is. I'm sure in Abuja, like in Lagos, if you go to some hotels or to the airport, you know that you can change. But I'm sure there are some offline places like that in Lagos as well. But there's probably an opportunity there to bring it online. Things like wholesale fresh produce, like the idea that people who farmers or aggregators of yams, tomato, all those things, There are some people that have a big harvest and are ready to get rid of it. And there are some people that want to supply or to sell or to consume. So being able to bring them together. Wholesale, as a matter of fact, of other things. So basically, like, I'm Igbo, like Igbos primarily, or, sort of dominate the import business, import trade. So people come in and have a container, and at the time they have a container, sometimes even when the container is in the port, sometimes they don't have money to clear the container, right? So there's an opportunity for like wholesalers of goods to be able to connect with, retailers that have funds or people who want to invest in, keep money in inventory, to connect them. Then there's an opportunity for a portal for government services. Nigeria is a country where we actually don't know how, like, if you want to get a driving license, you probably don't know exactly how or where to do it. Maybe you do for driving license, but maybe for something that you haven't done before. Like when I got married, I needed to change my name. My wife needed to change her name. But she had never been married before, so she didn't know where to do it. So there's probably some opportunity to put some of all those services together. Then SME services, like there's probably an opportunity, SME services and SME trade. What Jumia is doing for consumers, there's probably an opportunity for small businesses. Almost all small businesses buy diesel. Almost all small businesses buy paper, buy internet, there's some things that they all buy, and there's probably an opportunity to provide like a portal to organize and deliver some of those things. And then, it's interesting following on Pastor here, there's probably opportunities for religion portals. So like, like people who are, so Christians, for example, like, like I go to a particular church, I go to Covenant Christian Center, but people from Covenant like Pastor Bishop Uidekpo of Winners Chapel because there's some connection between them. They also like Pastor Adeboye of Redeemed. They also like, so we go to church every day and we get what we want from our own pastor, but we're also interested, when we have a particular topic, we would really like to know what Pastor Adeboye has said about it in the past, or what Bishop, this person or that person. We also like to know what events they're having. We also like to, so there's not a way for one person to sort of very quickly understand what's going on, or what this person has said, or anyway. So there's an opportunity there, whether that's Christian, or whether that's for Christian organizations or for Islamic organizations. There's probably some type of opportunity to create some type of portal around it. So I would this year I stopped like doing seed investing. I would have said I would like to hear. I look forward to seeing some of you. Well, I do look forward to seeing some of you taking some of these ideas and running with it. Unfortunately, I'm not doing the seed investment thing anymore. So I'm more operational now, and I will probably, take one of those things and apply myself to doing it. So I look forward to competing with one of you in the near future. Thank you very much.